So many people have requested this just as much as rating all the weapons from the previous game. Soul Calibur 3 gave us the ability to make custom characters. Along with that are the jobs to pick from. Depending on them, they use 3 different styles of weapons and 2 from the cast. Swordmaster on the other hand uses all the weapons, but none from the roster. Not even Okadan. If I don't mention Swordmaster on any of the weapons, that's why. This ranking video focuses on the weapon styles your custom characters and bonus fighters can use. I'll also list the recommended weapons so it's a mix of both a tier list and a recommendation video. These weapon styles are a mixed bag, but an interesting sort of mixed bag. Some of them were improved in the arcade edition when they became part of the main roster. As always, we go from bottom to top. Let the subjective video shared on my channel begin.
What? Impossible!
Speaking of bottom, the Grief Edge. What are those? This is one of the 2 most common weapons. Barbarian, Monk, Dancer, and Gladiator use it. On paper, it's a neat idea. Bladed shoes along with some Tekken moves. Unfortunately, it's nothing special. When fighting against the AI using it, they're pretty easy to deal with. Using it against the AI is another story. The worst thing about this weapon are the unresponsive inputs. The command list doesn't specify that you have to time these moves right. Soul Calibur 3 is not perfect due to it having some bugs. This moveset is no exception. Even the legendary weapon is left to be desired when the rest have better buffs. Guard damage with small chances of guard break, impact, and counter hits? No thank you. Senji Soku's chip damage and healing on hit, or Kalyekver's healing on attack and increased pushback would be the best options, if you really want to put up with this weapon. Out of all of the bonus characters, they have to give the worst weapon to the hottest of the 3 shopkeepers. This weapon style is dull and damned. Also, you guard with your arms despite wearing bladed shoes. As for the steel fan, I'm not a big fan of it either. Used by the Saint and Dancer. The moves are either too stiff or too weak, and the move pool is also limited. There's not much variety of moves to use, even using a long-range unblockable that can easily be dodged. And just like the unblockable, most moves can be dodged because of the range of the weapon itself. Fighting against it is also a joke. Unless you're dealing with the annoying tower effects in Chronicles of the Sword, they can be dealt with easily, even to move. As for what weapon to use, Basho Fan, because it overshadows prior weapons with its attack, defense, and pushback buffs. Even Damoud's Bandegart. That little shorter fan could fit in on Soul Calibur 2. Also Zephyrus maybe if you want passive healing and deny counters. The fan is the most boring out of all of them, but at least the inputs are responsive, somewhat. Although I did discover that using a guard impact move, it makes the opponent cringe for a few seconds. Now you know why I made that short. Out of all the weapons on the D tier, I'd rather use the Katana and Shuriken over the previous 2. The Katana and Shuriken is another weapon that looks neat on paper, but falls on execution. The Ninja and Samurai uses this as their 2nd tier weapon. At least you can use the giant Shuriken on some attacks. You might think it looks like a solid weapon to use, until you actually use it. Many attacks can be unresponsive with the inputs. Some of the moves were borrowed from Spawn but altered. Despite being a mediocre weapon, the enemy AI uses this weapon quite well. The damage you deal isn't a lot unless you use Gemma and Kokuin. This is another style that has a less than impressive legendary weapon. At least the effects are better, chip damage combined with guard break. The former is the better recommendation. This is one of the 2 katana styles, but lesser of the 2.
That was a mistake.
Starting on the C tier, the Sword and Shield. The Sword and Shield is used by the Gladiator and Sage. It's basically an off-brand Sophia and Cassandra. Compared to the sisters, it's underwhelming and outclassed. There's not much attack speed. Some of the moves miss more than hit. Even the lightning attacks aren't that effective unless the AI stands still. Speaking of the AI, they can at least put up a fight using them. Isle on the other hand, is annoying to fight, mainly because he benefits from the tower effects. I'd still use it over the D tier weapons because at least it has a decent selection of moves to use. You can make this weapon work if you're good at combos like Heil's AI. It also has a good selection of weapons. Catspalger redeemed itself by healing HP on hits while preventing counters. Excalibur is a pretty good upgrade with its increased damage and takes chip healing. Valkyrie remains the best because of its defensive nature with the healing over time and defense buff, along with the counter hit chance and longer reach. It's one of the 3 styles sharing the same legendary weapons as the roster. You're still better off playing as one of the sisters, or even Lizardman. This is another common weapon that many drops use. Assassin, Barbarian, Thief, and Gladiator uses the wave swords. This one was one of my favorites mostly because it looks dope. Once again, upon using it, it's not as good as I remembered. The main issue with this weapon is the lack of moves and range. You'll be using the same 2-hit attacks often. Despite being a shorter range weapon, it could be worse. At least some of the animations look good, especially the moving sideways B attack. Enemies using this weapon can also be easy to deal with. Funnily enough, in Chronicles of the Sword, the opponent shouts during their intros instead of speaking. As for the weapons, Atropos overshadows most of them. Good damage buff that chips guard and healing on hit, while avoiding ring outs. Leviathan is a healing alternative, but has a severe reduction on pushback. I wanted to like this as much as I did before, but over time it's not as good and there are much better weapons. The dagger and bomb style is also competent, but not as good either. It's used by the Thief and Saint. Just like the Wave Swords, the boost set is limited mostly to shorter range 2-hit attacks. The knife attacks are meh, however the bomb attacks make up for it. The bombs deal a good amount of damage and can even set up juggling. It even has a fair share of grappling moves. You can even throw bombs from a reasonable range. The CPU can be crafty with its moveset, but is manageable to deal with. Once again, Togan Tanachu overshadows prior weapons. Good damage output with some auto guard break and minor healing. The healing on attack isn't much, but at least it's better than losing it with Kingslayer. Another neat concept that hasn't been properly executed, but can be fun to use, especially exploiting the AI with the bombs. Lastly, on the competent tier, the shape-shifting staff, used by the Saint, Monk, and Sage. Don't think it's similar to Keelix or Sungmina's moveset. It feels more like Necrid due to the staff changing sizes, which is crazy. This one takes a bit of skill, but it's not even B tier worthy. Basic inputs aren't as effective as the hold inputs. Some of the inputs needed to be held for more combos instead of pressed. Admittedly, the held inputs are more effective than the basic ones. Against the CPU using it, they're one of the easier ones to deal with. In Chronicles of the Sword, the goons use these more than named units. Although, even the named enemies using this style are just as easy. The best staff to use is Kolan Bamboo. Similar buffs as Bashofan, but has an auto guard break instead of increasing more damage over time, and it power increase most of the weapons as expected. It's competent enough to be usable, but needs some skill to get used to.
I'll take you anytime you want.
Moving on over to the Between tier, the Chinese blade is exclusive to the Sage. This weapon is basically a lesser Xianghua, but not as bad as the Sword and Shield. Just like the former, it's a little slower but makes up for some interesting moves. It does have some interesting looking animations. My favorite is when you can do a somersault and then follow up with some Goomba stomps. Fighting against it is 50-50. Against the typical jobbers, they're manageable. Named foes and even Luna sometimes can be no pushover. Unlike most of the styles, there are some recommendations to use. Runeblade with its gradual healing and guard impact healing. Dujao Greave for its increased base and guard damage with a chance of auto guard impact and ring out prevention. Soul Calibur would be the best option because it combines some of the Runeblade and Dujao Greave effects. Higher base damage and constant healing with a chance to deal and prevent counter hits. Luna's and Moonkalf's signature blades are too dangerous to use. It's not as good as Xianghua, but still a viable option. Speaking of Chinese weapons, next is the Chinese sword. Aside from Huang, pirates and assassins can use it. Compared to the previous games, even 6, the moveset isn't as good. Many moves have been reduced. At least he got fixed in the arcade edition, but this video is about base Soul Calibur 3. I'd still use it over Yun Sung, and yes, I'm a broken record about him. There are some unique moves that are worth using. Some of them can be nasty. Against the opponent using it, it also depends. It's hell against Huang in Tales of Souls because of the mode itself's notorious difficulty. Chronicles of the Sword, a few amount of named enemies use it and they're not much trouble. There's a decent selection to use with this weapon. Poshan gives a small damage boost and guard break chance, Falchion heals health over time and auto guard impact, and Bonebreaker Sword being the most recommended. It's one of those weapons that increases damage over time. It also comes with healing on attack, a chance to deal counters, and increased pushback. It says 20% more, but it feels more than that. Huang's moveset may be nerfed for base Soul Calibur 3, but it's better than the previous weapons listed. The Sickle is an underrated variant, but it's a worse Ivy, used by the Thief, Ninja, and Samurai as their 3rd tier weapon. The moveset itself is mid. You can't launch with down forward B, it stuns the foe instead. Even with all of that, It surprisingly deals a good amount of damage, but range is the best part about it. AB will be your best friend when dealing with enemies. Alien carried certain parts of Chronicles of the Sword for me. Enemies using this weapon are one of the easiest to deal with. Most of them are used by jobbers and even the named units don't stand a chance, especially Aurelia. She is a joke compared to her goons coming at you full force at the start of the Chronicle. As for the recommended weapon, you guessed it, another ultimate weapon, Chains of Hades. Man, a lot of these legendaries are the most useful for these weapon styles. Similar to Tonga Tanachu, increase base damage with healing on attack with a good chance to avoid rayouts and deal damage guard impacting. Don't bother with Black Widow. That defense nerf is the reason why Aurelia was easy. If you struggle using Ivy and want something similar yet simple, give this a chance, but don't expect it to be just as good as her.
Making me waste my energy.
I would say this is a borderline A tier weapon, but it's better than B. The rapier style is used by Amy Pirates and Knights, another moveset that got tweaked in the arcade edition. This is the only style that got carried over to the future games, for good reason. It's a lighter Raphael. It's got a decent variety of moves to use, kinda tricky to get used to. Once you do, it gets crazy, especially with the AB, BK, and AK moves. These three inputs paired with basic attack is what makes it pretty fun instead of only using guard impact. This is another style in Chronicles of the Sword where the opponent doesn't speak unless in battle. Unless they're Amy, they sadly don't put up much of a fight. Like the sickle, generic jobbers use this more than the named enemies. Amy, however, doesn't mess around. Even beloved on easy, she could get annoying with her AI. There's a few decent selection of rapiers to use. Rapier itself, don't ask why, is defensive by raising base defense and auto guard impact. Fallen Antlers healing on hit and guarding hits. Unicorn with the attack buffs and healing makes this the best option. Higher base damage while increasing more over time with healing on attack and over time. Despite sounding ridiculous, it's not as overpowered as you think. Is it better than Raphael? Not sure honestly. I think it's just as good as him. Now this next weapon may surprise you. The tambourine's on A tier? Don't be fooled by the goofy looks of it and your character. It's the dancer's weapon for a reason. This is a case of you don't judge a book by its cover. The moveset is surprisingly versatile. Think of it as Voldo mixed with Taki. Rapid moves with some evasion. AK also heals the user. There's even a poison breath unblockable. However, sometimes the inputs can be unresponsive. Against the AI, it's like fighting against Sophitia in Tales of Souls. At the hands of a player, it's solid, but the CPU doesn't handle it as well as you do. Even the named units are a pushover. Terpsichore is the preferred weapon for this style. Increased base attack with a chance to guard break. Not only that, it heals on attack and hitting the enemy. Hit or miss, you'll heal that damage. Don't sleep on this. Give it a chance and you'll be surprised at how great it is. Another weapon that I used to like. This time, unlike the wave swords, it still holds up. The dual nunchaku style is used by the monk and Li Long. This is another moveset that got tweaked in the arcade edition. The moveset is a slightly stiffer maxi, but is more manageable. Many of the moves utilize more combos through Soul Charge. Some moves activate Soul Charge but not level 3. Before you ask, no, they won't work in Wisp Shoot. Regardless, once you get the hang of it, you'll smack the opponents down. Like Amy, against anyone using it in Chronicles of the Sword, they're not too bad to deal with. Against Li Long in Tales of Souls, he puts up a good fight. As for the recommendation, there are two options. Wu Shen for buffed attack and defense, and Shuang Lei for its anti-defense effects. Dealing guard damage and auto guard break with a chance to auto guard impact and heal on attack. If you really want to go anti-defense, spam AB. This weapon is one of the few styles that works well with Soul Charge without putting you too much at risk. The last weapon on the A tier may surprise you as well. The Lance. Sure, it's quite busted, but it's fair compared to the next three weapons. This weapon is exclusive to the Knight. For a large weapon, it's quite mobile for whatever reason. The moveset is also versatile. Some moves will borrow from Kilik or Sung Mina, and even one of the throws is a variant of Raphael's throw. The amount of rapid strikes, guard break attacks, and even unblockables makes this a menace. Even the enemy AI using this can be rough. There are a bunch of Lance users in Chronicles of the Sword. Case in point, Gyarados' Unstoppable Force. There are a few weapons to pick from. Halo Morales is a good early game weapon to use. Increased attack and chip damage. Dreadnought is nuts. Deals more chip damage than the former and increases attack over time, with a chance to deal counter hits and guard break. The rest of them aren't worth using. Blaze Cleaver would have been another option with its guard damage and break while healing through guarding, if not for its defense nerf. You'd think this overpowered weapon belongs in the S tier, but it's borderline compared to the next weapons coming up.
My blade cannot be defeated so easily.
These styles are like the 3 weapons I listed higher than S tier on my legendary weapon tier list. They're just as busted as each other, but I'll still order them the old-fashioned way instead of spinning the wheel. I was debating on either the kunai or the lance belonging on the S tier. The kunai feels more ridiculously overpowered than the lance. Used by the ninja and assassin, the kunai moveset is pretty much Taki on steroids. Deals more damage than it needs to, and the mobility is crazy good. The one move you'll use often is a running triple kick move. It's almost as damaging as Yoshimitsu's windmill attack in Tekken 3 and Tag 1. Other moves can be just as ridiculous. The unblockable flame move is quite fast needlessly. The AI also uses this moveset quite well, especially the later chapters in Chronicles of the Sword. I'm looking at you, Elua, with your Windy Tower effects. There's a decent selection of weapons to pick from. Kazi Kirimaru's defense buff and longer reach, Naki Nui's healing on hit and guard break chance, and the best for last, Jutenso, buffed base attack and defense with a chance to counter hit. The cherry on top is the healing over time. Now you know why I consider kunai to be more overpowered than a lance? We're just getting started with this tier. Speaking of Japanese weapons, here's the second of the katana styles. This time it's just a simple katana. The samurai job uses this weapon. This weapon's moveset is notorious for a reason. Despite having no unblockable strikes, it makes up for its grappling moves. Many attacks follow up with a grapple. If that wasn't crazy enough, the combined inputs are what makes this the S tier. 2 moves, AB, Flying Triple Slash, and BK, Tackle. They deal a good amount of damage and the AI barely blocks it. They can also lead to easy ring outs. Against the AI using it is another story. In Chronicles of the Sword, katana users appear in the later chapters. They are complete bastards. They're in league with Setsuka and Lizardman when it comes to difficult AI. The worst thing they do is spamming throws. They go for the grab again once you try to get up after the first one. Case in point, Ende, the guy you fight at the second to last chapter, who happens to be level 99. Unless you know how to exploit his AI, you'll have a hell of a time fighting against him. Arthur and the samurai NPC are just as bad in Tales of Souls. As for the selection of weapons, there's a couple. Bodao with its guard healing and increased pushback, which will lead to easier ring outs. Murasame is the best, yet it's a bit dangerous. Loses health over time, but the increased base damage and even more over time, and draining the enemy's health makes up for it. The effects are the same as Soul Edge. With an offensive playstyle, this weapon will destroy anyone. An overpowered weapon style with a bunch of Paul Phoenix throws that is nearly too easy to use, and you wonder why you had a hard time fighting against it. The Iron Sword is the last and best of all the custom styles. Unlike the katana, it does take a little bit of skill. It's still easy to use. This weapon is used by the Barbarian, Knight, and Pirate. For a greatsword, you move fast with it. It's like using Nightmare and Siegfried but sped up. The moveset is also versatile. The damage is also pretty good. Well, perhaps too good even if you don't use weapons that increase attack. You can easily exploit the AI with the AB spam. Doesn't matter if the first strike hits or gets blocked, the opponent will be forced to crouch down and the second strike will always hit. Other moves like Backback B and BK moves are also ridiculous. The enemy AI is also good with this weapon too. Not as bullshit as Katana, but still challenging. What is BS is the last fight against Strife. His purple high HP combined with Soul Edge, and worst of all, the final chapter has no strongholds to rest. Speaking of weapons, unlike most of the styles, there are a handful of weapons to recommend. Hercules Sword's chip damage and higher defense than Claymore, Demon Knife for more attack and pushback, which also looks like Cloud Stripe's sword, and both of the legendary weapons, Aladai and Soul Edge. Like I said, Murasame has the same effects as Soul Edge, but Soul Edge has a little bit more base attack. still overpowered as hell. If the gradual HP loss holds you back, Untitled does the opposite, which heals you over time by the way. Still has a damage buff with a chance to deny throws and ring outs. And now you know why this weapon style is on the top spot. An easy to use weapon with a good moveset and a selection of strong greatswords that can slay foes. And now you know which of these weapon styles are good or bad. Out of all the videos I've scripted, this one was the roughest. Still, as someone who has played as the whole cast many times throughout the series, it was worth trying them out. What do you think of these weapons? Do you agree or otherwise? Feedback is always welcome. The legend will never die. Except for the poor souls receiving grab spam.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more of my stuff, subscribe and hit the bell, okay? Thanks, bye.